Welcome back to my journey through the lesser seen parts of Vietnam. I am now leaving the town of That Key behind, the place where I arrived a few days ago, half frozen and completely soaked to the last layer of clothing. Today, the wet and gloomy weather has finally improved, and the next stretch of road, the DT-226, will lead us along the southern edge of the Chao Bang Karst Belt. As it transitions into the Bình Gia mountainous zone of the Lang Son province, which is another interesting and scenic route, taking us through wild and untamed valleys that few travelers ever explore. And here we can already see that not all roads are meant for comfort. This is a rough, narrow route, patched together by time and weather, winding through a chain of quiet valleys that lie between the last limestone outcrops of Chao Bang and the rising hills of Bình Gia. The road already feels slow, and the journey may take much longer than I expected, but in return it forces us to see the land as it truly is, beautifully unpolished, lived in, and deeply connected to the people who call this area their beloved home. I have been told that along this stretch, small villages appear one by one, often tucked behind bamboo groves or spread along the riverbanks, and that most of the communities here belong to the Thai and the Nung ethnic groups, who have lived in these valleys for countless generations. Their houses are built on stilts with wooden frames and palm leaf roofs, and sit close to the fields because farming is still the backbone of life in this region, where rice paddies fill the valley floors, while maize and cassava climb the lower slopes. And as we continuing the narrow potholed road, we are now somewhere around Bắc Khai, which is a small commune tucked deep within the district of Trang Dinh. It is an area where the rhythm of life seems to still follow the land and the seasons. Bắc Khai sits within a region known for its cool climate, terraced fields, and ancient cultural crossroads, here in the Lang Son province, which has long been a gateway between Vietnam and China, a place where trade routes, ethnic cultures, and historical events have intertwined for centuries. The people here are primarily ethnic minority communities which maintain the traditions passed down through generations. Their daily life seems to be simple but deeply connected to the land, tending crops, gathering forest products, raising livestock, and participating in communal festivals that echo the cultural richness of the region. Locals here told me that Bắc Khai has appeared in regional development plans with the aim to improving infrastructure, transportation, and public services, but things here are moving very slow, and the promised road upgrade has not reached the community yet, as we can clearly see and feel.
View is nice, road is terrible.
After leaving the high passes of Bắc Khai behind us, we entered now another quiet but vital settlement, the commune of VENSZ MİCH, nestled here in the district of Bình Gia. Here, the mountains open just enough to let us and the river pass. And with it, centuries of movement, trade, and memory. The town of VENSZ MİCH sits at a strategic bend of the Bình Gia river system, which is locally known through its tributaries rather than a single famous name, and flows down from the highlands. For generations, This crossing has served as a natural waypoint between the mountain ranges of MịN to the northeast, the uplands of MịN KHAI to the south, and the central valley of Bình Gia town to the west. This corridor made V埠N MịCH a resting point for traders, farmers, and travelers navigating the rugged terrain. Even today, its importance is reflected in modern planning. The district's bypass road project specifically includes the T226 route passing through V埠N MịCH, which is reinforcing its role as a connective hub. It looks to me as the life here in V埠N MịCH is shaped by the river and the mountains, with a community that is made up of ethnic minority groups whose traditions also remain deeply tied to the land. The people here are known for their resilience, as the harsh mountains demand it. Winters here are very cold, and the terrain is unforgiving. Moreover, I learned that the river here can be very unpredictable during the rainy season. Yet the community thrives through cooperation, shared labor, and a cultural heritage that binds the generation tightly together. Historically, V埠N MịCH served as a river crossing point, a place where footpaths converged, where goods were ferried, and where travelers paused before tackling the steep passes toward MịCHAI or MịN KHAI, where we are heading now too. Today, the same logic pretty much is shaping its future. As the infrastructure projects, including the district bypass road that runs through V埠N MịCH, aims to improve mobility, reduce travel time, and strengthen economic links across the district of Bình Gia. But despite of all of these slow changes, the hamlet retains its quiet character, with wooden houses still lining up the slopes, and smoke still rising softly from the inside of the houses.
Hello. Hello. This side it looks like this. This side like this.
And here we are now on the stretch from V埠N MịCH to MịN KHAI. As we can clearly see, the road surface is remaining rough and uneven as we continuing to wind through the valley and the steep hills. There is no way for me to increase the speed even just a bit more, as the 1,000 potholes, loose gravel, mud, and narrow passes is making my progress very difficult and slowing me down to a crawl. Nevertheless, despite all these challenging conditions, this route offers an amazing view and a clear look at the rugged landscape that defines this very remote and hidden corner of this almost forgotten part of the Lang Son province.
Look at this road. Sit down. Hello.
Oh dear, even the local women are zipping past on their motorbikes with effortless confidence and leaving me wobbling behind like a nervous beginner. But never mind, as their laughter and hellos made the whole scene feel less humiliating and more like a reminder that this rugged road belongs to those locals who truly know how to ride it. By now we reached the MịN KHAI commune, which is tucked here deep in the northeastern mountains of the Lang Son province, and unfolds as a wide stretch of rugged hills and quiet valleys.
Hello. Hello.
I learned that it remains one of Bình Gia district's most remote and economically challenged areas.
Hello. Hello.
Where 2/3 of the land is steep mountains and narrow streams, a fact that slows down life, as the small agricultural villages are widely scattered across the hills, with dirt roads that turn even more difficult during the rain season, and a landscape that is shaped much more by nature than by modern developments.
These kids are crazy. Holy cow. Oh my gosh. I'm scared like hell and they drive like hell drivers. Hello. Nice road. Xin chào.
Finally, and after hours of navigating through rough terrain, the better road surface feels like a reward. As we are now entering the Tho Hue commune, it is noticeably better, smoother, and wider, and hopefully signaling that the most difficult part of the journey is now behind us. Surprisingly, the improvement was kind of immediate. Perhaps it has something to do with the budget. Anyway, we are now once again picking up on our pace and gliding comfortably, instead of endlessly jolting our way towards our next town, which will be the municipality of TT Bình Gia.
Hello. Xin chào. Ooh, look how they built the house under the rocks.
And finally, after hours of navigating the narrower, more rural stretches of the DT-226, we arrived in the small but active township of T Tran Bình Gia, which serves as the district's administrative center. Here the houses cluster more closely, shops appear along the roadside, and the traffic becomes a little more varied, a clear sign that we have now entered a local hub rather than passing through scattered mountain communes. I think that this is also the point where the character of our journey will take a drastic change, as this town marks a key logistical point where the DT-226 ends, and we are merging into the more significant Quoc Lo 1B, or in short the QL1B. The QL1B is one of northern Vietnam's more important national routes. And according to the official route information, it begins in the town of T Tran Dong Dang in the district of Chau Loc, right at the Chinese border crossing, and runs southwest through Van Quan, Bình Gia, Bắc Sơn, and then into the province of Thái Nguyên, where it is ending at its western terminus, which is at the Tan Long roundabout in the city center of Tan Pho Thái Nguyên. So, we officially merged into the road that connects the border trade of the mountain districts with the major northern city of Thái Nguyên. Of course, this road should be broader, better maintained, and carries more through traffic, like trucks, buses, and long-distance motorbikes which are moving between the Lang Son and the Thái Nguyên provinces. The road ahead should also give us a smoother and faster ride, and the rugged mountain terrain will gradually give way to the gentler valleys that is leading us toward Bắc Sơn and eventually the industrial outskirts of the Thái Nguyên city. Here we now reached the top of the Đèo Tam Can Pass, which is remembered locally as one of the points where revolutionary forces moved through the rugged terrain during the early stages of the Bắc Sơn uprising.
Okay, come on.
Its significance comes from its geographical location, such as steep limestone mountains, narrow passes, and dense forest that provided cover for the early guerrilla units to move without being detected.
Well, that was an interesting experience with the Vietnamese guys.
As we are now beginning our descent into the quiet cradle of the Bắc Sơn Valley, I learned that this is a place whose beauty hides a history of defiance. As in the summer of 1940, way longer before this valley became known for its rice fields, its flowers, its plum and peach trees, and its limestone silhouettes, it became the stage for one of Vietnam's earliest armed uprisings against the colonial rule. The people of Bắc Sơn were farmers, blacksmiths, and forest dwellers. But they understood the terrain better than anyone, and when the revolutionary organizers arrived, the valley's steep karst walls and dense forests became their natural allies. As the villagers sheltered the resistance fighters, and passed messages along hidden footpaths, while using the surrounding mountains as both lookout and locations for refuge. The uprising itself was brief but symbolic, and even though it was eventually suppressed, it marked one of the first coordinated attempts to challenge the French authority with armed resistance. But more importantly, it ignited a chain of organization and solidarity that would later feed into the broader independence movement. And so, in many ways, Bắc Sơn became a spark, although small, but still bright enough to be deeply remembered. Today, as the valley stretches out, it is easy to imagine how those early fighters moved through this landscape, quietly, determined, and guided by their ideology and the uniquely rough land itself.
Amazing houses. This Luzon is incredibly beautiful, huh?
It is also interesting to mention that nowadays this area is remembered as the Flower Valley, where each spring, thousands of plum and peach trees bloom in soft waves, brushing the stilt houses with pale pink and white colors. The wooden stilt houses of Bắc Sơn are unlike those found in many other regions of Vietnam. These homes are built high above the earth and stand as quiet markers of the Thai and the Nung communities, who have lived here for countless generations. The Thai and the Nung community are two of Vietnam's largest northern ethnic groups, with over 2.5 million people combined, and are speaking languages that are closely related to the Thai, Kadai tongue, and living mainly in the same mountainous provinces where their shared cultural roots connect them to the Zhuang communities of southern China. And as the road takes us further southwards and into the province of Thái Nguyên, a province that has always stood at the crossroads between Vietnam's highlands and its lowland plains, we can clearly see that the mountains begin to soften. It is this special landscape that has shaped the identity of this province for centuries, as it is nestled in the northeast, a mountainous inland province with a remarkably diverse population, which is home to more than 50 ethnic groups, including the Kin, as the majority, and then a large communities of Thai, Nung, San Dio, and San Che people, and with each group carrying their own language, traditions, and rhythms of life, creating a cultural mosaic that feels both ancient and alive. Historically, Thái Nguyên rugged terrain made it a natural refuge and a strategic base. During the several resistance movements, its valleys and forests offered protection and mobility, allowing revolutionary forces to move between the northern mountains and the Red River Delta. Even earlier, traders and farmers used these same routes, turning the province into a natural gateway for exchange, which is a role it still plays today. Economically, Thái Nguyên has grown into one of northern Vietnam's most important hubs. Its mountains hold rich mineral resources, and its climate is ideal for agriculture. The province is famous nationwide for its tea. More than 16,000 hectares of plantations produce some of the finest leaves in the country, making Thái Nguyên a center of Vietnam's tea industry. At the same time, its strategic location has attracted major industries and investors, transforming the provincial capital into a growing educational and economic center with more than 20 universities and colleges, putting it into the third rank nationwide. Here at the edge of the province, we can still feel that blend of tradition and transformation. With stilthouse villages tucked into the hills, tea fields rolling across the slopes, and a modern city rising at the heart of it all. And it is this unique blend that makes Thái Nguyên what it has always been, a bridge between worlds, where the highlands meet the lowlands, and where the past history continues to shape the future of the land. As I now follow the quieter DT-292 into the city of Thái Nguyên, leaving the rush and noise of the QL-1B behind me, this feels like the perfect moment to bring today's journey to a close. Thank you for riding along with me through mountain passes, hidden valleys, and the long sweep of history that shaped this region. Every single kilometer has carried a story, starting from the rugged frontier landscapes to the cultural heartlands that makes the northern Vietnam frontier so endlessly fascinating. I am grateful you chose to spend this time with me, and I hope the road, the people, and the places we crossed today left you with the same sense of curiosity and connection they gave to me too. But hold on, this adventure does not end here, as in my next episode, I will take you deeper into the city of Thái Nguyên itself, its streets, its culture, its energy, and the stories that unfold when the mountains finally give way to the big metropolis. Until then, take care, keep exploring, and I look forward to having you with me on my next exciting ride.